And good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 21 of the Flight Test Community Podcast. I am one of the three crazy lunatics who you listen to on a bi-weekly basis, and I'm Joel Kennan. And with us this evening, we have Mike Finley.
Howdy, everyone.
Who just came back from vacation with me, which was awesome. And then we have, in the frozen tundra of northern Pennsylvania, Patrick Murphy.
It's southern Pennsylvania, but close enough. It's frozen.
I always forget whether it's north or south. And then, of course, the guest that everyone has been waiting for. We have Chad Kapper joining us.
Hi, guys. I'm in Florida today.
So welcome. Yeah, I was going to say, not your usual location. You're down here in the warmth with me, but I can't exactly say it's warm.
It's been quite cold since I got here.
It snowed back at home, so you're not missing much up here.
I did notice that.
Yeah, it's terrible. I can't stand winter. It doesn't help anyone. But anyway, so how's everybody been? I have much news to share with you all, but before we get into me, who would like to fill us in with what we've been doing?
Well, I've been on vacation down in Orlando. Got to see Joel and his wife for a little bit, run around Universal Studios and Disney for 4 days. Had a great time. Didn't fly anything. Didn't get a chance to fly anything because it was dark by the time these guys got off work. So I couldn't do anything. But that's okay because we had fun eating and having a few drinks and having a good time. So it was good.
Yep. It was good. And at Jock Lindsay's Hangar Bar at Disney Springs, too. So it was all like Indiana and Indiana Jones and like airplanes. So it was a good theming. Like the setting was ideal. So
it was perfect.
I'm glad we got to hang out.
Yeah.
It really was. So and guess who finally got to meet Allison, Patrick?
Yes.
That wouldn't be me.
I actually got to meet her, give her a hug, everything. She didn't run from me, Pat.
She has such a crush on me, she can't even look at me.
That's probably what it is.
Wishful thinking.
Definitely what it is.
How's the snow up in Pennsylvania then, Pat?
I put my patio furniture away yesterday. That's about the most exciting it's been around here lately.
Yeah, flying? Anything?
Yeah. I have flown a couple of things. I've been flying the little SE-5A that's over my shoulder there. I love it. It's a fun little plane. You guys are going to love them when they get out there. And the Bushwhacker. I've been doing a little bit of flying with the Bushwhacker. But other than that, I haven't really been doing anything RC related. So I'm kind of boring.
So, Chad, you doing any flying down there in Florida?
Actually, unfortunately not. I didn't bring anything with me. I had gone to Utah and then down to Florida. And I did just very little bit of flying in Utah. I was visiting Teal Drones, and that was pretty exciting. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that here in a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. That does sound really cool. I guess it's time to break the not so fun news. So, annoyingly enough, my wife and I had an experience this week. Our landlord of our house that we are currently residing in. So we got the unfortunate news that we have to vacate the premises as of January. Yep, I'm being kicked out. So in place, what we are doing is we're going to be renting an apartment not too far, about 10 minutes from where we are right now. It is nice and modern. However, for the rest of December, you will not have me as a host. I am going to take a brief intermission while I get myself and my wife sorted out while we, pack, unpack, reorganize. But the good news is I get a dedicated workshop space with dedicated podcast area. So that means that you will actually get studio quality viewing for everyone's pleasure.
So
this will be, go for it.
You already got the place picked out?
Yeah, so we got the news on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we ran around and what was it?
Tuesday we got the news, Wednesday we ran around.
yeah, Tuesday we got the news. Wednesday we ran around and did the apartment hunting and went to see a couple of places. We saw the one that we ended up choosing. It's going to be the third floor of a pretty much brand new apartment. It's like 2 years old. No one other. I think one other person lived in there other than us. So we're really, really happy about it.
Well, we just already got a comment on the Facebook group, the Rotor Riot Facebook group, when I posted it. They said, hey, landlords aren't allowed to force you to leave when they sell a house. Consult a real estate lawyer.
Oh, yeah. So the funny thing with that is because so here's the thing. We were given first option to buy the house from the landlord. And if not, I think there's something I need to check our lease, but there's some stipulation there that at the end of the lease the landlord can't, because technically it's the end of the lease, so the landlord can say we don't wish to renew it. Situation for us,
but you
annoyingly
like
exactly, and it's even though it's technically slightly smaller than where we are now, it's still plenty of room, and plus I get the workshop, so that's kind of the nice thing.
Well,
so I don't have to work
hard to turn down.
Exactly. Well, that and the fact that I work on my kitchen table, and Allison doesn't care for that at all, because then I end up with things like this clustering up space. So, wires and podcast equipment and all the rest of it, and camera parts and you name it. It's probably sitting on my table at some point or another. So. But anyway, so that's the sad news, guys. I'll be absent, but I will be back in the new year. So these two will be continuing to carry the torch and providing you with excellent enjoyment on a bi-weekly basis.
I just want to make sure that in the new place with your dedicated podcast space that we can still hear Bruno and his chew toy.
Yeah.
Yes, you will. In fact, speaking of Bruno, he's actually sitting right there.
Oh,
being extremely good.
Quiet.
He's in his
So that's
doggy
Bruno.
jail again.
He's not in doggy jail.
Yes,
That
he
is
is.
Bruno in jail. They're so mean.
that's bad for him. He's being really good.
That's doggy jail.
Alrighty. So I think we should probably actually get this show on the road and get to the main topic. So and here's the fun thing. So those guys, we need to bring up those guys over at Freefall RC, because they beat us to the punch to get you on. So we're
They really did. Those jerk.
yeah, them guys. So Kevin and Steve, you need to listen up real good. No taking guests away from each other's show. That's just not cool. All right, now that part's over, on to Mike with his beginning of the interview.
Yeah, well, we'll talk to Kevin and Steve later about that. But anyway, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about a little bit, Chad, was, and I know it's been discussed over and over and over and over, but how and why did you get in the hobby? I mean, what was the draw? Were you always an airplane guy, or always looking up at the sky, or what?
Well, I can tell you, I originally in high school had an interest in it, but I didn't have the money or time. I had gone into the Marine Corps directly after, not directly. I left actually close to Thanksgiving. It was mid-November after I graduated high school. And then I got caught up in life and didn't really make a lot of money, and it's an expensive hobby. So at some point when I got my production company going and I had some free time and I had more money than I had in high school, I thought, I'd like to try that hobby. And really, I just started with the Air Hogs, the little cheap, $29 Walmart Air Hogs planes.
Yep.
And my son and I would go out and fly them out in the yard, and it was fun. We would, fly it in the wind and just try to see who could keep it up in the air the longest. And then from there it escalated, so I went in and got, what was my first, I'm trying to think, my very first RC plane, my wife bought for me because it was around Christmas, and it was an F-16. and it was the styrofoam. What is it, EPS?
Yeah.
And it was 72 megahertz. And this was in 2010. And I promptly took it outside, spun it up, threw it, and demolished it.
So how short do you think the flight time was?
Well, if you're really interested, you can ask Wayne because he was there with me. So Wayne Griffith, he's my cousin, and he's also involved with flight tests. It was probably a whopping 7 seconds. I mean, just long enough to get high enough to obliterate it once it hits. And then from that point, I got a number of planes. I'm trying to remember. I got a trainer. It was a Hobby Zone J3, a Cub J3, and it was not very powerful. It did not fly very well, and it wasn't until I bought the Mini Ultra Stick, the E-Flight Mini Ultra Stick, which is a balsa plane, but it's a very simple plane. I, of course, overpowered it. And what was funny, though, was being overpowered actually made it easier to fly because it would just go where you point it. And I don't know why trainers are built the way they are, because trainers, they porpoise and they're hard to fly, and they're self-leveling all the time. And it's fine, like if you can take your hands off the sticks and it glides, but it's hard to learn when it rises with throttle, and it has a lot of characteristics that a beginner doesn't understand. So I think the Mini Ultra Stick was an awesome trainer for me, because that's what really got me over the hump. And then I bought then after even crashing that at some point, I bought a simulator. And I remember I sat inside all weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and I just did the simulator. And then when I went out, I was like 10 times better pilot.
Yeah.
So
doesn't take long, does it?
Yeah, the simulators are very, very powerful for learning, and I recommend them to anyone because, I couldn't justify it because they were so expensive. I think the one I got was like $250, $300, and I'm like, I could buy 2 planes for that. So, but I would have crashed a lot more. So that's how I justified it.
Absolutely. Well, I know I did the same thing pretty much. I bought the little small ultra micro. I bought the Vapor first, and then immediately after the Vapor, I bought the P51.
Oh yeah, I had the P51 too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, what's that?
Because I bought like 6 planes within a month's time, and I can't remember exactly which order I got them, but I was addicted. I just kept buying.
Yeah, I was the same way, because I started out with the Vapor, got the P51, the Ultra Micro P51, and flew it until it was pretty much tape.
Yeah,
there wasn't any foam left, and then it really didn't fly that well. And I was an idiot. Went to probably, I'm not going to say the worst site, but it wasn't very good at the time, and that was Banana Hobby.
I remember
I bought the twin 64A10 Warthog.
Oh yeah.
And that was a huge plane for me as compared
to... That was your step up from the micro?
Yeah. And I actually took
that plane, in that plane's defense, it flies really well.
Well, it flew really well, other than the fact that I went up behind where I worked. We had a great big building. I mean, we're talking, I'm guessing 70,000 square foot building or so. And then there was another one that they had just built right beside it. And I had taken off from west to east, and the buildings were just in a row west to east like that. And I went out and turned, and when I started to turn, it was right at the in between the buildings, and the wind was blowing in between those 2 buildings and just threw it down, and it just obliterated it. I was like, well, that was $200. It was gone pretty quick.
Oh, wow.
But it was fun. I mean, I actually, took it off, and when I started to bank, it was right in between those 2 buildings, because there wasn't 25 feet in between those 2 buildings, and the wind was probably blowing 25 to 30 in between the 2, and that it just threw it down, just crushed it.
So are we talking about beginning flight experiences?
Well, that was because we both kind of tried with an EDF like right away almost.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you guys the story of the Superpower Z that I had?
I haven't heard it.
No?
Oh, this is a good one. So for my 12th birthday, my dad decided to, because, of course, being interested in aviation since I was like, which isn't very far away from where I am now. But anyway, my dad for my 12th birthday got this plane, and it was one of those, so it looks like an Easy Star kind of, or a Bixler or whatever it is, you know, high wing, train up, but instead it had a V-tail. Any V-tail, though. It had one of those limited single surface V-tails. So, very restricted flying, super light characteristics, so it would go up on throttle, up. At middle throttle, it would stay level. At descent, you just cut it down to 0, and then it would turn left, and it would turn right. And so for the very first flight, I took it up, and because we lived on a hill, I threw it, and again, 72 megahertz with NiCad batteries at the time, and brushed Mosa. The thing was grossly underpowered. So I took it up, and flew it around, and crashed it into the side of the hill. That was flight number 1. Flight number 2... take it up. Now, again, being 12 and not being particularly familiar with orientation, I took it up, I flew it to the right, and instead of turning it to the left to bring it around in a pattern, I turned right again. I turned right again. I let it stay going to the right without correcting it, and it flew back behind my house where I lived into a tree. It wasn't just the lowest point of the tree. No, it was the top of the tree. And we ended up calling the fire department because in the UK, you could call the fire department for things like that. And they came out and they rescued my poor little airplane with the tallest ladder that they had available. It never flew right after that.
No, some planes fly better after you crash them.
Yeah.
Some.
My
Not that
T-28.
one, apparently.
Yeah. Needs a little extra high.
Anywho.
So Chad, you went into the Marines right out of high school, right?
Yep.
Or pretty close to. How did you get into videography? What's your background there? What's the
you're
history
asking
with
about that? Yeah, that gap in time.
Yeah.
Well, I think even in high school, I worked at the movie theater. I always wanted to make movies. Like that was from early on. So once I had settled back down in Northeast Ohio, I worked at a paintball store. I actually managed a paintball field and store. And while I was there, the mornings were always dead because nobody came in really until after school let out and people got out of work. So about 2:30 on, it would get busy, but pretty much from 9 a.m. to 2, it was dead. So I bought a computer. I didn't even tell my wife. I bought it on a credit card, and I think I got a Best Buy credit card or something. And I got a book, and I convinced my mom to buy me this 3D software. At the time it was called Caligari True Space, and it was $200, $199. And my mom bought that for me, and I taught myself how to do 3D animation. And then within a few months, I was proficient enough that I went around to the video production companies and I would sell my services doing animation work, and then eventually started working for one of them.
Oh, that's
and
so cool.
So that got my foot in the door. So while I was there, I learned to edit, I learned to shoot, and I was there probably for about a year and a half. I don't remember exactly how long. And I thought, I can do this on my own. And, I could choose the work I do rather than just being assigned the work. So talked to my wife and said, hey, let's give this a shot, and we did. And I was working ever since. So
Pretty successfully too, I'd say.
Ended up getting probably 3 times more work than I expected. And that's why I always tell anybody, if they're like really seriously thinking about making the entrepreneurial jump, I always say do it, because it's very rare. If they have the guts to do it, they have the guts to make it work. And it's very rare that people don't make it work. The only people that don't make it work are the ones that have a contingency plan. They're like, oh, I'll try it, but they'll have this. And what happens is it splits their focus. I kind of jumped in with both feet. My son was 6 months old. I didn't have an option. So
yeah.
Right.
That's crazy. So with that, then you were working at the production company, and then you started StoneCap.
That was 1990.
So StoneCap. Oh, okay. So StoneCap evolved, and so obviously everyone knows the story that Flight Test kind of came to be kind of by accident. But then at the beginning, what was StoneCap's role in trying to get Flight Test launched off the ground?
Well, so my production company, StoneCap, I had built it up to be fairly autonomous because I had 2 directors, 2 cinematographers, editor, 3D, a couple editors, 3D animator. I had a whole staff. So my job was just delegating at that point. And YouTube was a thing that I was kind of interested in, almost infatuated with. I was like, because I always wanted to make movies or TV show, and YouTube made it possible that anybody could make a TV show. Like all you had to do was make it. Like you didn't have to go through any deals or do anything. If you could afford to shoot it and make it, then you could do it. So my employees actually didn't have an interest in doing it. So I ended up getting Michael Caminetti, who he was he was currently working at his church, and he wanted to break out and do some other stuff. So I said, hey, I want to do this thing. It's a YouTube show. Let's give it a shot and see what happens. And originally it was going to be me and Dave Knopp hosting it, but we did test shoots and it wasn't working. So, I had run into, actually Eric Monroe introduced me to Josh Bixler. And then ironically enough, Michael Caminetti recommended Josh Scott, who's my cousin. He's like, but they were like best friends. So he's like, why don't we try Josh Scott with him? It might be a good combo. So we did, and it worked really well.
Yeah.
And, so the show was always intended to be as good as it could be. What was accidental was how quickly it grew. Like we didn't really expect that it was just going to take off like it did.
I bet that was almost
right. And then all of a sudden you're out in California with Corey Feldman.
Yeah, exactly. That was supposed to be like 4 months after starting.
How do I know? How do I know that he would come up?
Because it's
Corey Feldman.
Because it's Corey Feldman.
Oh boy. Yeah.
And it was a Hellcat.
That was $500.
Oh goodness, that's insane. I'm sorry that you had to put that much out.
Hey, no, you know what? My favorite movie of all time is Stand By Me. So to meet one of the film, it was worth. I would have paid twice that.
Understood. That was a great movie.
So you created Flight Test. You made Rotor DR1, and now you're doing Rotor Riot. And Rotor Riot seems like it's being wildly successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know how to measure wildly successful. I mean, it's popular, and I think it's very pure, like it is what we wanted it to be. The group of us that met in Hawaii and started discussing it and what it could be, it's doing that. And we are selling product on the store, and we're selling more than we expected, which is good. But the problem is, and this is what we're working on this year. Currently, we're putting together our 2017 plan, because out of the gate, it was, follow these drone racers around and see, and learn about their lifestyle. Well, over the course of the year, you know, racing has been evolving, and the guys haven't been as involved in racing. They're more interested in freestyle.
Right.
So the whole dynamic has changed throughout the year. So we're trying to kind of regroup and say, okay, what do we do for 2017? What is our purpose? And if you guys want, I can leak kind of what we're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you want to share.
As long as everybody out there that hears this doesn't, you know, hold my feet to the fire that it's definitely happening. But I think it will, because we're all pretty jazzed about the idea and we keep refining it. But we would love to do like a Rotor Riot headquarters where the guys can spend the bulk of their time doing, you know, projects and meeting with people, because right now we're all spread out. You got LA, Atlanta, Australia, Ohio. So we would like to put like more of a permanent location that has an indoor track, a freestyle location, and an outdoor track, and have it a place of training, of community, and just have it just a constant, honestly, like 24 hours a day activity. We want, you know, people to come, hang out, you know, do all of that, but we got to find the place. So we don't know where we're putting it yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I think that would have
been my next question was where geographically would you think would be a good spot for this?
Well, I've kind of narrowed it down to either Atlanta or LA.
Okay.
Number one
That's
is we need the weather to be good.
Yeah.
So LA is good for that. Carlos and Tommy are in LA. Obviously Steele and Kevin and Schizo and all those guys are in Atlanta. So those are the two that have the highest concentration of our, you know, of our members. But LA is actually better for weather, but it wouldn't be actually in LA. It would be in that Southern California region.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
But that's what we're looking at. So we got to run numbers and figure out how do we support this. You know, how can we do it? I think if we held a certain amount of seminars, it would pay for itself. And then, you know, we build the track. We could lease the track out to events and things like that. But what I think it would be like this hotbed of innovation is what I think it could be. Because you get that many highly concentrated, skilled, talented people together consistently, and it's just what can be churned out would be amazing.
Yeah. Move out there?
Especially with, I was going to say, especially with the type of pilots who are involved in Rotor Riot. I mean, just looking at the way that you guys have developed it, I mean, you established, I kind of don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but you know, even talking about product development, you guys work directly with RunCam just to get a better camera out there to the market with the GoPro lens that seems to be working just so well. You guys are taking those steps in the right direction in terms of development as it is. So it doesn't sound like it would be that far of a stretch to then go ahead and take it a step further and actually create a destination location where you can create some of those experiences.
Oh yeah. Now we need to figure out how to make money doing it, because we're doing all of that because we do want to push things forward and we want to be able to help innovate. But the actual, you know, the time investment and all of that, we got to figure out a way to, you know, increase the income, but I don't want it to be donated. You know, I want it to be in a way that's helpful to everyone. Like the store is great because we're selling product that we believe in, and you know, but we have to sell a lot of product to support our travel because it's very expensive to travel like we do. So if we can cut our travel down, and maybe when we do travel, that's being sponsored, then we can actually make some money. So
no, that's awesome.
You know, I just realized I did not plug in my power supply, so let me grab that before it dies.
Oh, yep, better do that.
Flagging for edit. So, no, that's fantastic.
Well, I'm kind of glad that happened, Joel. Just to let you know, for whatever reason, my GarageBand didn't start recording, so
Oh, that's fine. I'm up and running. So.
Okay.
And
well, I started at 29:35, so on
that's
my.
Okay.
Other.
Mike, what I'll do for you too is I will teach you how to pull down the video from Hangouts and put it into GarageBand, because that's honestly another good backup that I use. Worst case scenario, if something were to ever happen to either one of our sides, doesn't matter what, we have a backup online with YouTube.
Okay.
I can't find an outlet.
Oh, he can't find an outlet.
What are you chopping, or is it my bandwidth?
All right.
It's your bandwidth, because you're coming through a little bit choppy on my side, Pat.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'm back.
All right. Welcome back.
Thanks.
So let's see. Okay.
So do we have any
right
live
in the middle
listeners?
of a mouthful?
Oh, that's all
we
right.
have 15.
Hi, live listeners. Can they see us?
Talk about. I know it was somewhat accidental. Accidental. But talk about a little bit about the selection process of the pilots who were involved in Rotor Riot. So you have Steele, Ozzy, the other Chad. You have Carlos, and you have Tommy. I'm sorry, Tommy. I almost forgot you for a second. So what was the thinking behind each of those pilots, and what assets do each of them have that bring to the table for Rotor Riot?
Well, yeah, some of it is just kind of happenstance, but really it was the dynamic, between everyone. Chad and Steele had developed a friendship when Chad won the first drone nationals. Steele came in second. Shortly after that, I think they had started hanging out and talking more and kind of sharing, trading secrets and things. I think there was that mutual respect there. So they, they had already started talking and that. And then Tommy and Steele were actually the first two that were working with DRL to shoot a lot of the promo stuff in the very beginning. So they had spent a good amount of time together. And then Carlos, everybody knew, and he was kind of like the first real popular FPV pilot. And, we all knew him. I knew him through flight tests, and the other guys knew him through the drone nationals. And I don't know, it was just kind of, Schizo, John, he was always kind of tossed around as, he should be part of the mix, but he never travels. And see how much we travel. So we would have loved to have had him with us. Kevin has pretty much been adopted into the Rotor Riot family. I mean, he's gaining a lot of popularity, but his skill is increasing tremendously. So he'll be doing an episode coming up. It'll be how to power loop, which he's kind of the power loop king. So
he is the power loop king. That video that he put out the other week with him power looping that building in Atlanta, it was ridiculous.
I know. He'll try anything. Like he and Tommy, both of them, I'd love to just do maybe a series where you just dare them and see who does the biggest dare.
Almost like quad take 2.
Yeah. So we've got some, and I don't know what it is, because we've traveled around a lot. We've been around a lot of people, and we've competed. The guys have been in a lot of races, and aside from the DR1 race, Tommy came in like third. The guys hadn't really ranked real high. It was a number of things from dumb luck to nerves to whatever. But when you see them fly, I mean, it's special. Like it is really good. It's not like they're, just accidentally, getting views on YouTube. Like their abilities are really up there.
Yeah,
So,
we watched them when at Flight Fest this past year when Peter was flying around the Super Guinea and watched them. I think Steele's the one that made it in, wasn't he?
Yes, I think Kevin made it.
No, it was Kevin. Wasn't it? Yeah, it was Kevin.
Right.
Yeah, and I was watching them just amazed at how well those guys flew. I mean, just
well, and when you see it in person, and that's the other reason, if we can do a Rotor Riot headquarters, you know,
Yeah.
get people there in person. There's nothing better than to be able to interact in person.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
So-
when I'm watching some of these videos with the onboard view,
Mhm.
I get like mesmerized. It's the flow in the way the movement is. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like hypnotizing to me. I just get locked into the screen, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, you know, it's very trippy, man. I love it.
It is.
These guys are.
You'd think it would get old, but they somehow, you know, they keep evolving, and you even going back like 3 months, you can tell a difference.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it's. I like you say that because, especially with pilots like Steele, who, in my honest opinion, and Steele, don't take this the wrong way, but Steele is a very aggressive pilot. He's very on top of the sticks all the time, and so you can see that he is very like twitchy. That you immediately he cannot keep the craft flying straight for any length of time. There has to be a maneuver in there within like 2 seconds, otherwise it's wrong.
Mhm.
And very intense, fast paced, really quick moving. Chad is much more of a smooth. You get the view, and then he will do a maneuver, and then he'll position himself in and kind of line it. There's more of a flow, and so you get their personalities through each of their flights, and I completely agree. You see that evolution to them as a pilot, and to anyone who is trying to fly anywhere close to that, you try and pick up some of those habits. So, okay, well, how can I take this maneuver and now make it more interesting? And so that little series that you guys did on how to then take simple things like flips and rolls and your spins and evolve your flying just around those simple things, I think a lot of people really take a hard look at your flying style and then take a look back at that video and try and progress and evolve that way, because you'll be surprised at how quickly you can evolve and progress. I'm seeing it even in myself.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what's funny is, you know, I'm around these guys all the time, which makes me not even want to try. Our expertise and experience, or what I want to say, skill level, are just so far apart. So when I fly my mini quad like almost like a wing, and you might think it's kind of a waste, but the thing that I wanted to do more than anything was fly low and, you know, proximity and long swooping shots and fast. And I could do that with my wings, but it was always bobbly. And especially in the summer, you get that, what I call bobbly air. And I hated that, because like flying a wing, you just feel like you're going to break your neck because it's just constantly bobbling and jittering. And so I can fly a mini quad like a wing without any of that. And it's perfectly smooth because it just cuts through the air. And so when I fly, I mostly just fly kind of swoopy proximity. And it's nothing, I wouldn't say it's anything special. I've never posted a video. I don't even record my videos.
Yeah, you should.
My video link. I just fly.
Yeah, you should.
You know what? There's something to be said about that style too, though, because a quadcopter kind of allows you to. It gives you that vertical takeoff and landing ability, which is a really great part about quadcopters. Because I mean, I can't speak for the others, but I personally have a tiny little field out back behind the house. And flying back there is a little tight. I can get away with like UMX, and I've got an Edge 540 from Twisted Hobbies that flies just great out there. But like throwing this little guy up and taking it for a spin, because of the fact that I can pretty much turn it and you can be inside the cockpit and get that same sense of flight that you would, but you don't have to have a lot of space for it either.
You have the Pro Sight on there, don't you?
Which one is the Pro Sight?
The Connex? Oh, I couldn't tell. Oh no,
no, just a
that was your battery
TVS.
strap. It looked like the big.
Yes. Yeah, no, a buddy of mine at the Orlando Rosa Races, Abel, has the Pro Sight, and it's a neat bit of kit. But no, I'm still running good old analog because it's easy.
Yeah.
But this has been my workhorse while I've been trying to get back into flying multi-rotors. So I'm absolutely loving this thing. This is the Sybil 210 to anyone who's interested.
Nice.
Going back to what we were talking about with you were talking about how you have more of a flow to your flying. I was watching a video from a guy, and I think it was one of the Ukrainian guys that you guys were hanging out with when you were over there for Chernobyl. And I don't remember the guy's name, but he had posted or somebody had shared a video of him flying, and I loved it because it was so smooth. And he didn't have any of the really quick, snappy moves, but what he did was just so smooth and swoopy, and it reminded me of fixed wing flying, like you were talking about it. And that's the first time I really thought about, well, everybody kind of has a different style, and I'm kind of enjoying the way this is versus the way somebody else would do.
Right.
I'm weird that way.
No, I love trying to kind of dissect the different styles. I'm actually I'm trying to find, and it's kind of embarrassing because I forgot his name, but there's a Korean guy that I met out at Worlds, and I absolutely
he's the
not
I can't remember his flying name, but yeah, I know who you're talking about. He's like ridiculous
pilot, not Manchin, but his video, he is looking. It starts looking at a big wind turbine, and it's turning, and he's following the rotation of the blade.
Oh wow!
It's like sideways power loops, right?
Well, he's actually rotating, and so when he gets upside down, he's using a 3D quad, and he's flying. He's pushing it up.
That's crazy.
That's
I'm trying
crazy.
to find this channel. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. It's one of those things where the harder I try to remember the name, it's not a hard name to remember either, or it shouldn't be.
So weeks later.
Man.
But
yeah. So here's a question for you. When you guys were in New York for the races, I was watching on ESPN3, and you guys were all over ESPN3. Now, when you went out there, did you know that you guys were going to be on camera like that, or were they pulling you guys in to fill time when?
Well, no, they did ask us to do some of the live stream stuff, but we had no idea we were going to be on the show. I would say 30% of the show has some kind of Rotor Riot representation.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
What you guys were talking about. Well, I was kind of wondering because they started out with so many technical difficulties. If they were trying to get you guys to,
no, they definitely pulled us in extra to fill time and do other stuff.
Yeah, no, you guys killed it then because I really enjoyed watching you guys on there.
Thank Yeah,
I love the.
It wasn't planned that much. No.
I love the plug that they gave you as well. You got a really nice spot when they were doing the pre-interviews as well. That spot was fantastic. Also, you got really got a great.
We got a lot of coverage from that, and we're very thankful for it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. And so, with that being said, then, so I know personally you didn't get a chance to go to Muncie. Were you out in Hawaii at all?
Yes, I was in Hawaii. Actually, I was out at the event 2 days and got to meet a lot of great people.
Yeah?
Yeah. And
did you want to talk a little bit? Because we heard a little bit the last show from our good friends, the Flash Gangsters, and I think Sean's watching along live with us. So, Shane. Hey, Shane. They had several strong opinions about the DSA, and I know you probably don't want to get too much into it. But
well, yeah,
can you give us a little bit of?
I don't mind talking about any of this stuff. I just what I try not to do is I don't want to go down the negative route. So many people, you know, when something goes wrong, a lot of people like to jump on it and be the ones to point out, you know, all these things that are wrong. But you know what I would do is I would point you guys to Bull Buff at FPV. He has a great video. It says, "So what really happened at Drone Worlds?" And it's really great, candid look. Kind of, you know, he's one of the pilots. He did very well. I think he actually was second or third. And, I'm sorry, I can't remember. But you know, there's a lot of stuff out there to kind of learn about what happened. I think the reality is, you know, there was some negativity after New York, and it kind of snowballed, and it's really hard to recover from that stuff.
Yeah, it just carried over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I do, you know, my only, and I don't want it to be a criticism, but I want it to be an observation that, you know, you can't build something without the core, and that's the pilots. You know, you can't go have a race without pilots. So you got to have a location, you got to have pilots, and then you got to have coverage and sponsors and stuff. But if you start building that out of order, you're going to have trouble like that. So, you know, I think that's why DR1, the DR1 Racing and Brad Foxhoven, they did a really great job, because the whole way they were asking for input. You know, they had the pilots give input on the track. They had, we told them that we wouldn't be involved unless MultiGP was handling, you know, the coordination of the actual racing, because, you know, we didn't know who would be handling it. So I said, you know, we need somebody we trust and know, because we're just starting this relationship. We didn't know them. So we said, hey, we're going to feel a lot more comfortable if it's somebody we trust and know running the event, the actual race portion of the event. Everything else was them. But yeah, so I think it just comes down to it's a fledgling sport. You know, it's burgeoning, I think, and it has to mature before you can run to the next step. You know, and everybody's trying to like introduce the sport and take it to like NFL on TV right away. And you can't. Like, you can't do that down here.
It's still a little early for that, I think.
Yeah, remember I said I was involved in paintball? Yeah, very similar thing. I remember when I was at the paintball store, that was the year they got paintball on ESPN. Yep. And then it dwindled, kind of fell away, and now it's just a very small hobby that some people play. Right. And I don't think that'll happen with drone racing, but it does show you that it doesn't always work out like you expect.
Yeah. Well, it's
you don't want it to turn into the next lumber sports either. Go ahead, Mike.
The lumberjack sports.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's kind of like, the NFL, the baseball leagues and all that. I mean, they were very segregated out to begin with and very separated. You had the AFL, the baseball, the NFL. I mean, all that. I mean, it was all, when it first started, was very separated. You had all these different leagues and everything going on. And then they finally started bringing them together. And I think that's what needs to happen with this sport, not only with quad racing, but just FPV racing in general, whether it's wings or the multi-rotors, because, go ahead, Pat.
Here's my thought, Mike. Any professional sport, they all have roots in local communities and kids playing, and they build to that professional level, but doesn't have at least to my knowledge, doesn't have a huge base of people flying around the country like there's high school football or Pop Warner football. So you need a base of really good pilots thing also. And so not only you're going to have to expand the sport on a local level. really
yeah.
before I think you're going to see it
I mean,
off at a
that's why
professional
Multi GP is doing a fantastic job of doing the grassroots approach. Starting at the ground floor and just building it up, and they have over I think 12,000 members now. I mean, it's insane.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
Chris Thomas is doing a great job.
Yeah, Chris is a great guy.
On producing our videos, but I don't know if you guys saw that. That was his idea, and
I did. That's great.
No, Chris is a great guy.
And it's funny that you say that. He really is.
Mhm.
And I can say that because I've met the guy several times.
Yep, I have too.
And what I find really interesting is to kind of look at it, because there have been so many, I don't want to say failed races, because failed races is not the right word to use. But there have been a lot of events that haven't gone to plan because the focus has been in the wrong place.
Mm-hmm.
Something like DRL, which is yes, it's a TV production show, and I think a lot of the way that the racing occurs is designed specifically for television audiences. But the way that the production looks and feels, to me, it's everything I was hoping for when drone racing gets to TV. Because frankly, if you watch this thing fly through the air, you're not going to see it, because it doesn't have any lights on it. It isn't going to look right. It's too damn fast for the most part. The DRLs are slower vehicles. They're bigger vehicles. They got lights all over them, and they race on tracks that are big, bright, colored lit courses. Now, granted, is everybody in the US who flies quads going to be able to race in DR1 or DR2? I think it is. No, it's just not feasible. But is there a way to?
Okay.
Yeah, we're losing you, Joel.
Joel, Darth Vader.
Your sound update, your update didn't work, buddy.
Yeah, your update didn't work.
Sounds like your battery died.
We have this every time in just about an hour. Darth Vader always shows up, and then it takes about 5 minutes, and then he's usually good to go again.
Yep.
I'll continue my thought.
Hey, there you go.
Darth Vader has
you're
decided
back.
to depart.
You're back. Go.
Yay!
Progress. That is progress. All right. Sorry, I get excited about the small things. Right. Finishing my point. I think the best way of taking the best aspects of every part of multi-rotor racing as it stands right now, you have the production that is coming through from DRL. You have the grassroots origins that are being put out by Multi-GP. And then on top of that, you have what the DSA is trying to do and gather as many sponsors as they possibly can to be able to afford the next generation of races. So I don't know what that picture looks like yet. I'm not a professional by any stretch of the imagination. Chad, you probably have a better perspective on it than I do.
No, you're nailing it. That's what. Sorry. So I don't know how to silence it. I think they got it. So no, you're nailing it. What you're saying, I've heard dozens of times, but think about what just has to happen for that to happen. People have to put egos aside. They have to give up total ownership, and they have to work together and share the spotlight and share the money, and well, quite frankly, share the cost, because nobody's making any money right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't believe that anybody's making any money on it.
No, nobody. The only people making money are manufacturers.
Yeah.
Which they should, because it's hard to develop products, and it's very costly. So the stores and manufacturers are the ones making money right now, and I hope they continue. I hope they make a lot of money, because I want them to keep making products that bring people in. So. But you're right. I mean, if all of these people could just get together and have the best of each world, then, we would have the NFL, but that's not going to happen. So what's going to happen?
No.
Everybody's going to have to go out. They're going to have to exhaust their resources and exhaust themselves. and then they'll say, okay, well, maybe working with them's better than dying, and then they'll work together. But that'll be like, another 24 months away.
Yeah.
And do you see Road to Riot being maybe that binding force, or is that something that you guys are trying to stay away from and let that evolve on its own?
Well, no, we'll try to help where we can. I think Road to Riot is the representation of the community and the culture. Like, that's what we are, because you have, it's like basketball, you have the NBA, but this is it's the guys that go and meet every weekend and hang out and maybe put together a fun game or tournament that is kind of a big deal for the weekend or something. I actually, and I don't know why I used basketball because I'm not a sports fan at all, but we're like the Harlem Globetrotters.
I like the analogy. I do.
Like, they go out.
We have a show title, everybody.
Show off.
Yes.
They're fun to watch. They have personality, but they don't really compete. They don't really go out and compete. So I think that's the best way to explain our position.
Well, I think Chad's one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my life. My God, that guy is crazy.
We have some in common.
They're all great. I got to tell you, every time we get back together, I just get this. It's just like meeting old friends, even if it's only been a couple of months, and it's just such a warm feeling to get the rarity that we get all 5 of us together.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. Oh, yeah. And, I'm hoping, well, Carlos is going to have time freed up because his movie's getting finished up. So, actually, Tommy is on a plane right now going to Atlanta, and he and Steele are going to be shooting the next episodes. So there was a point in Flight Test, which I don't know if you guys know, but I don't know if I went on vacation or what, but I had to leave town, and we had to shoot episodes. And I think it was like 3 episodes, and I handed off the baton to Josh and said, Josh, you're in charge. We've done enough episodes. You know the template. Just go. And he did a great job. And I wish, just at least for the sake of the story, I could tell you which episodes they were. But I can't even remember. But what I do remember is coming back, him being worried, me being worried because he looked worried, and then looking at the footage, and I was like, you did better than I did. So, and that's what I'm finding with the Road to Riot guys. Did you guys see the dune buggy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was without me. I actually had to leave early, and they went out, and we had a Flying Home Productions, Reese. He was out there covering some stuff for MultiGP, and he stayed an extra day and shot some footage for that. But half of the episode is the guys' GoPro footage.
Oh wow!
And like their vlogging footage.
Nice.
So, and I love it. Because it feels more. They're more relaxed. It's more intimate. It just feels like you're with them. And then you couple that up with Christian's editing, and he's always able to put the story together in a way that just keeps you captivated.
The Top Gear. I will keep coming back to that Top Gear segment because that little tidbit just got me all kinds of giddy. First of all, massive Top Gear fan, so Christian, you hit the right notch with me. And by the way, we'll get back to the Grand Tour here in just a minute because I definitely want to know what you think. But just the way that I think probably the best part about Road to Riot and why it differs from Flight Test is the fact that you get. It's not necessarily about the what's new, what's latest and greatest, which is and the building side, which Flight Test is so good at. Road to Riot is more, and I completely love the approach. It's more about the culture, the experiences, what these crafts are capable of, but also the power of the people that fly them, and what bringing those different personalities together can do. So in that particular episode, I completely agree with you. It highlights just that entire sentiment and feeling.
Well, and it's funny because people try to they try to look at the format and they say, oh, so and so copied someone, so and so. Nobody has an original format. Like all of these formats have been done on television. It's just they're called segments, and on YouTube it's an episode. So you know, two people sitting behind or standing behind a counter and talking about something is not new. You know, and it's always about the personality and the approach. You know, how you talk about it. You know, the way that you feel when you're watching it. Like it's really the approach. I mean, the format, you know, our little template is this. I always remind the guys, so set it up. Where are we? Who are we? And what are we going to do? Then have an adventure, try to accomplish that goal, and then somehow exceed my expectations or give me an ending I didn't expect. And that's it. That's the format of every episode. And it looks different in everything, you know, whether it's a build video or what, and the intensity is what changes. So we always have an ending that we didn't expect because we don't plan everything. You know, we just go.
It's like this podcast.
Yeah. So
Didn't
you
even
just
have to
keep
say
going
it.
until you're surprised or you're fulfilled or, you know, you get that piece that is a little bit what you didn't expect.
For me, you guys really, you said about the adventure, and that's what you really capture for me in the Road to Riot episodes, and I really enjoy that. I told you this back at Flight Fest, whether you remember or not, but I said, you know, I didn't think I was really going to like Road to Riot all that much because I'm not really a motor guy.
No, we didn't at first. Or at least a couple of us didn't.
But you won me over with the guns versus drone episode. That was so amazing. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember. We got torn into after the first couple episodes were released.
Yeah, I remember.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
We remember.
I remember trying to put out as many fires as I could.
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing about that, though, Chad, is yeah, you guys threw me in that damn bus, is what you did.
No, I was going to say, Mike and I might have been doing a little bit of the tearing back then. So
all I said was, okay, so first of all, I never had an issue with language, ever. I curse like a sailor as it is. So language to me, it doesn't make a difference. It's all about what you're trying to portray and how it's portrayed. So to give the benefit of the doubt, because and that's the biggest thing I think we all tried to say. This is not Flight Test by any stretch of the imagination. And they need to be separated into two completely different entities. And yes, when they get together, magical things happen. But they have to be able to stand alone as their own thing. And I think a lot of people were expecting, oh, it's just going to be another Flight Test. But instead of planes, it's going to be quadcopters.
Right.
And that's just,
well,
I think there was that expectation.
Things that I guess that, you know, for me anyway, because I'm older, and shut up, Joel. But I'm a little older, and you know, I went through the whole skateboard when they first came out, and was kind of into that quite a bit actually. And I did see some of that, and I remember, for me anyway, they weren't always all good memories. And I think that may have been why some of it was a little raw for me in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you know, as the shows progressed, you know, as more episodes came out and I watched them, I really started liking what I was seeing. Much different than Flight Test is and was, and you know, I do understand that it was different, but it was something that I guess I wasn't prepared or ready for. But I think I've grown, and I think you guys have grown as well. And I love the show now. I think it's fantastic. But it was mostly because I don't think I was ready for it.
Yeah, it's hard
If
because
that makes
until
sense.
you know, it's like if you imagine my son, I'll tell you a story that when we were on a cruise ship, you know, they give you meals and they always give you stuff you've never tried before. And there was goose liver pate, and my son was like 2, I think, or 2.5, and he thought it was chocolate cake, and he kept saying, chocolate, and he wanted the chocolate cake. And I'm like, no. And we're all telling him, no, it's not. And he wouldn't believe us. Like, it looked like chocolate cake, and he thought it was chocolate cake, and he wanted it. So I thought, well, I'll just give it to him, and he'll find out it's not chocolate cake. So I gave it to him, and of course, his face was all... he was mortified.
Mm-hmm.
And I ruined his appetite for the rest of his life. He never tried another thing after that. So whatever he ate at that time is all. So, when you're expecting chocolate and you get goose liver pate,
Exactly.
it's disturbing.
Yes.
You know.
That's harsh, man.
So we had to get over that hump, and you know, I think we got over it, and you know, now
absolutely.
people understand there's the individual personalities, but collectively they make up the Rotor Riot personality. And you know, I would say with Flight Test, I always attach a set of values to each project that I'm working on. Rotor DR1, Flight Test, Rotor Riot. And with Rotor Riot, the primary value set was acceptance, accepting people for exactly who they are when you meet them, no matter how off-putting it might be, but to just understand that there's value before you ask them to like tone it down or change their behavior. Try to understand what the value is there, because you know, somebody, you know, speaks like Steele's probably the roughest one as far as his abrasiveness of speech. But if you get past that, you see this amazing talent and, you know, great heart. And so many people don't even want to get past that. And that's what everybody says to me. Like, they're like, oh, wow, when I get to know him, there's this and that. And I'm like, yeah, see, you know, now think about that with everybody else in life. And imagine if you could do that with everyone you meet. And, you know, and that's what's important to me, is that, you know, that something good comes out of that. And it looks different, because Flight Test was about acceptance, but in a different way. It was about, you know, inspiring people to keep trying when it was difficult. And, you know, so it has kind of a little bit different look, but any kind of initiative or project or anything that I do, I attach like a value set to it, and I'm very, very adamant about it. You know, like I don't, you know, and it's hard because we get angry and, you know, things are said, but one thing that I stand firm on is we don't put people down. You know, you can hate something they're doing, but you can't say, you know, that, you know, they're, you know, pick your name. You know, don't make it personal and call people names. Don't tear down the individual, but talk to the action. And you know, and that's about it as far as the values. Like I just stick to that, and then everything else, you know, people say, well, Chad thinks this, or Tommy or Steele or whatever, and I'll be like, well, it's their opinion. You know, and they like want me to like go reverse it, and I'm like, no. I'm like, I think we all agree on everything. You're crazy.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
Yeah.
No, it's not. And the funny thing is, especially when you have like such differing personalities together, and again, that's why I think it's so funny that one of your primary loves is Top Gear, because I think that shines through in a lot of the projects that you do, especially like Rotor Riot is all about the personalities that make up the show. Like Rotor Riot wouldn't be Rotor Riot without the four that you have.
Oh yeah.
I think Flight Test is built on the same premises, that it's all about, and again, it's the same value system that Flight Test is built off, and that's the same value system that works for this podcast as well. It's all about the people who are in it and the different value that each person brings to the table. Like, I'm the millennial who has all the technology. Mike, love you. Cranky old guy. Pat, cranky old guy.
No, he's the funny old guy.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Love you too. So, you know, and that, again, it's all about, and I mean, it's the same thing. It's why we get so many downloads. It's because, you know, we want to bring something that's a little different than what you would normally find at Flight Test. It's something that isn't Rotor Riot. It's the community's perception of the bigger picture of the hobby, and I think that's where our podcast kind of separates itself. And so, talking about the value system and what every show brings to the table, I think Rotor Riot has done something special in the fact that it's brought attention to rotor sports and how we can develop it into something that can be approachable to everybody. I mean, I've been able to be introduced to people who I didn't even think that would speak to me, because I was like, oh, well, they're a way better pilot than me. They're not going to talk to some guy who's just picked up the controls of a multi-rotor and said, I can't fly a track, but I can fly around. So it's that community feeling. I just think you've done a great job with that.
Well, I think it is about community and connection. I mean, if there is a goal, it's to be able to continue connecting people that would not normally have an opportunity to connect. I mean, even this podcast, if you look at the four of us, how would that collection of people ever occur? Like it's only through a hobby or a common.
Yeah, I'm still not sure why you're talking to us, Chad. So
see, there's the funny old guy right there.
This
is my favorite part, honestly.
Cool. Yeah. The thing about, for me, Joel, you were saying about, makes people want to go out, and it makes me want to go out and fly one of these things because it makes it look so much fun, because the guys are having so much fun when they're doing it.
So, Pat,
it is, by the way.
Flown a mini quad?
What's that?
You haven't flown a mini quad?
I have. No, I've never flown a mini quad. No,
oh, wow.
I've flown an Electro Hub. I've got an Electro Hub, which I've flown. It's currently not flyable. Flew a couple of tricopters. My bat balloon flew away one night and never came home. And then
multi-rotors and Pat don't get along very well.
Well,
they tend to not like them.
I say I don't like them because I haven't had a lot of success with them.
Well, no, I can understand that. You said earlier though, Pat. You said you had a Twisted Hobbies plane, right?
No, that's Joel.
That was me.
Oh, Joel, you said you had it. Okay. Because I have a Sabak from Twisted Hobbies that I absolutely love. Sabak.
Yep.
Yes, SBAC. Yep.
Yeah, the SBAC 342.
But I still have it. I got it like 4 or 5 years ago, and I love it.
Yeah. No, I love it. This is another thing that I've been into lately because I've had the Twisted Hobbies plane, but I really love the 3D flying, and that's something that Flight Test didn't really cover in great detail because I don't think anyone at Flight Test is particularly a 3D flyer. There's something about being able to throw an airplane around the sky in really, really weird and interesting ways. That's just fun. It really is. And Mike, you fly a lot of 3D stuff, don't you?
I got a few 3D planes. My favorite is my AJ Slick, that Edge 540. I dearly love it. I crashed a 59 last year, and I have yet to build the 51 inch, and I need to put that on the bench, and that's going to be done this winter because I love it. It is so much fun.
What is it?
And a 3D Hobbies AJ Slick.
Oh yeah.
The Edge 540. Man, that is one
Chris
fun plane.
has that, doesn't he?
I don't know. I've never talked to him about it.
Well, no, I think he got his it was a long time ago.
I'll have to ask him about it. I love that plane.
Because I think he has one.
Yeah, I had a 59 and flew it for 2 years without incident. Everything was perfect. And last, April, May? I think it was April, a year ago. I was hovering about 15 feet over the runway, and it had a pull rudder system on it, and one of the nuts come off of the rudder, and it just did a 45. The rudder did a 45, and I mean, I drilled it and just Blew it apart.
Oh, I didn't hear that story.
Oh yeah,
I didn't hear the story of how it crashed.
terrible. Oh, it made me sick because I mean I had been flying every time I went to the field. I flew that plane because I loved it so much. And my beautiful wife actually bought me a 51 to replace it because she liked it as well. And she's not in RC. She don't want to do with it, but she really liked that plane and decided to buy me a new one. And I have yet to put it together because I've had many other things going on.
Yeah,
So,
sorry.
Yeah.
Florida being one of them.
Well, that's just one of the many. I mean, I've traveled probably, I don't know what, 60% of my time this year.
Of this
Yeah.
for work.
yeah.
Yeah.
If not more.
And
Yeah.
at least 60. I'm trying to be nice, but
You don't
so I
have to be
haven't been home a lot.
Yeah. When the hell's
Oh.
Mike Nice?
But yeah.
Yeah, where's my T-shirt of all
Yeah,
the places
well-
you've been to, Mike?
Oh, I've got a whole armoire full of Harley Davidson T-shirts that I'm probably going to have to get rid of because I'm going to sell my bike. So
You know,
oh,
Mike-
you are?
yeah,
You were talking about not building something, or I think this is kind of funny little piece of trivia or interesting factoid. But you know the early openings of Flight Test, and you can see a box, and it's actually my arms, and I'm pulling out an F-86 Saber. It's an
Yes.
E Saber.
Mhm.
It's still in the box.
Are you kidding?
What?
Oh my god! See, I'm not that bad then.
I had planned on building it like 8 different times, and I never did.
So what? It's
I can relate to that. I can totally relate to
Well,
that.
now Flight Test is what, 7?
It's this. Wait, no, 6 years old.
6 years old.
Yeah,
6.
because it was October
that it?
2010 was when it started.
Oh,
Yeah, really?
Yeah, can you believe it's just 6 years old?
oh my
6
God,
years.
it feels-
and it's-
You know,
I've only
Mike,
been involved
another
for
thing that's interesting because you're wearing the Rotor DR1 shirt.
Absolutely.
The first episode of Rotor DR1 was exactly 4 years, I think, to the day of the first episode of Flight Test.
Okay.
Oh, really?
And the
Wow.
funny thing was
Wow.
I didn't realize it until after. Like, I didn't
Yeah,
even
that's
know.
funny.
It was completely coincidental.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is so funny.
That is
You
great.
I don't know how
have,
that happened.
your life has changed a lot in the last 6 years, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Mine, absolutely.
Yeah.
So speaking, go on, Mike. You first.
Well, we've got a question from Luis.
Of course we do.
Off of, of course we do. Off of the chat, and he would like to know what your thoughts are, Chad, on the direction Flight Test is headed, the video format, crew, the vlog, speed build kits, and all that. So that's from Luis Rusi.
Well, it's hard to get my opinion because I haven't, if I'm being honest, I haven't watched every episode, but when I do watch, I like the vlogs.
I really like the vlogs as well.
The vlogs are great.
I love them. I mean,
it's funny.
Yeah.
but that's what I like. I like the more raw. All I want to see is people genuinely laughing. Like when there is genuine laughter, I like that. That's what I go for. That's what I'm looking for.
And Stefan is fantastic at it.
Speaking of
Oh, yes,
Stefan,
yes.
actually, speaking of Stefan, sorry to interrupt you, Mike, but we've come
Please
to
do.
actually that's
Yes.
a great time to kind of pause the show and say, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of everyone here at the Flight Test Community Podcast, we would formally like to congratulate Stefan Ostergren and his beautiful wife on the birth of their baby boy, Grayson. So welcome to the world, Grayson.
Yes.
Good luck. Your dad is a
Congratulations.
mental case, but that's okay. He's awesome. I text the guy probably once every couple of weeks just to see how he is because he's just a hoot to text. If you've ever texted Stefan, you'll laugh. Every message that you receive is a new joke. He's an amazing guy. So.
Did you guys hear about the labor that Liz had?
Yes, 36 hours.
Oh,
And then a
Ouch.
C-section.
And then she had to have a
Ouch.
C-section anyway. Yeah, poor thing.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah. But everybody's healthy from my
Oh,
understanding.
goodness.
Everybody's good.
Yes.
Everything's
Wow.
great.
That's rough
Yeah.
though.
That is really rough. Yeah.
Well, thank
poor
goodness
lady.
Grayson's here.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Anyway,
sorry about getting off
back to
track.
Mike.
No, I think the question was the direction of flight tests. I think
Yeah.
I headed in a really good direction. I think it's always been it's been a very organic show, so it's always about finding the way. And there was a phase when I was completely obsessed and consumed with scratch building and foam and all that. But honestly, since mini quads have come about, I mean, it is giving me the type of flight in the kind of stuff that I'm really passionate about. Because a lot of people don't know, but I mean, my very first, I guess, aircraft, and I kind of skipped over it because I talked about like the plane side of it.
Mm-hmm.
But prior to those, I was building a quad out of the what was it? It was I'm trying to remember the old Ardu Copter. That's what it was. The Ardu Copter flight controller. So you actually had the solder,
multi-wii system.
the gyro, and the I don't think it had accelerometers. But you actually had to solder it on the shield and assemble it, and it was massive and never flew well. So what mini quads are doing now, and the control and the weight and the simple small nature of it, and I mean that's what I always wanted. So now that it's here, I'm spending all my time with that, and the new Phantom and the Mavic. I mean, that stuff. It's just it's almost makes me sick that they can do so much. I know it's still kind of expensive, but right now you can go buy a standard Phantom for $500, and it has, I mean, abilities that my head would have just exploded if you told me it was possible 5 years ago.
Yep.
So,
And that's something with the Part 107 you can make money with. And if you look at that as an investment in a business, that's absolutely nothing.
oh yeah. I mean, you go buy a nice video camera. I mean, my first video camera I started my business with was $5,500. And it was mini DV. It was a Canon XL1, and I had to sell my Jeep plus get a loan, and with a grand total of about $28,000, what I started my business on.
Okay.
Wow.
Amazing.
So, yeah, I remember took all the money I had, sold the Jeep, and got a loan to get about $28,000, and it got me a camera, a tripod, a microphone, and a computer and hard drives. That's pretty much it.
And look how far you've come. Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's amazing.
Thanks. I think, when you do something that, plays in your strengths or that you enjoy doing, then you can just take it further and further.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, absolutely, completely agree with you. So with
Trying to
that
look
being
to see
said,
what else I got.
go for it.
Go ahead. No, I'm looking to see what else I got.
Yeah, no. I know we're bouncing off of each other really well. This is fantastic. So, Chad, you mentioned a possible location in LA or Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So, does that mean you would be up and moving out of Ohio?
Well, no, my wife will never. She just built a pool, so and that took her.
Winter's coming, right?
She wanted a pool when we got married, and we finally just made that happen. So, no, it's already closed for the winter, but no, I don't think I'll leave permanently. If anything, if things go well, maybe just temporarily spend. Well, quite frankly, it's getting to the point to where the episodes the guys create on their own are better than the ones that I'm producing, because when I'm producing it, they're kind of like looking over their shoulder or thinking, and the reality is if they just have the freedom to do what they're passionate about, it's way better. So, so yeah, I think right now I've been traveling pretty much 1 week out of every month and possibly more. So and that schedule hasn't been completely undoable. I mean, it's a bit much, going around the world, but yeah, I like getting out, stretching my legs, so. So I don't know what that looks like, but I think the priority is to get it healthy and to get it sustainable. I always build businesses backwards. I kind of figure out what is it to the people that it's serving first, and then we figure out how to make money doing it. Where everybody else kind of like sells something and then they try to figure out how to convince people to buy it.
So speaking of finding things that people really love, and specifically most of the pilots who are part of Rotor Riot fly this particular frame, the Alien 5-inch. So that seems to be really popular with the guys at Rotor Riot. Is there maybe down the line, since you guys have already started working with companies like I had the RunCam, sorry. RunCam, you guys have the custom Rotor Riot RunCam Swift coming out real soon. Is there in the future, I hope I'm not spoiling anything, but maybe some more
I don't know
Rotor Riot?
What specifics, but I can tell you all the guys are working on stuff. So, they're all interested in, Chad was working with HQ Prop, and I think they're released now. But his new prop, which I can't remember the name of it, but it looks very similar to the ones that we sell, but it's a slight tweaks and compound change, and everybody that's flown it really loves it. But that's what I like. I mean, it's very rare. So Rotor Riot, what it does is it has opened the door to the manufacturers for the pilots. So now you're starting to get products that are designed by pilots for pilots. So here's what happens. The normal development cycle is a manufacturer will go and they'll listen in on a forum, or they'll go to an event, they'll listen to pilots, and then they'll go make the thing they thought they heard. The reality is they don't understand all the little subtleties. Like RunCam was making 6x9, wide frame cameras, and they're like, no, do 4:3. Like, we want to see up and down, because they don't fly, and the ones that do fly don't fly like that, So when you can have the pilots have input during the development cycle, it's a much better product. And, so I'd say Impulse, I mean, they're nailing it. I mean, their new Helix, I mean, they really know what they're doing. And until you actually build an Alien, it's really, really hard to completely appreciate it. It's all the little subtleties. It's the placement. I can tell you one thing that just frustrates the crap out of me, because we get sent frames all the time. We get sent frames without a PDB.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so now I got
one complaint.
A wad of wires, and where the Alien, the PDB is actually incorporated into the frame. Yeah.
See that? That's really annoying. Okay, this is a really bad example, because I've got a diatone PDB mounted above is a Naze 32, running an F1 flight controller in here. It flies great. I'm not complaining about the fact that it's an F1, but see all those serial ports that it's running? Yeah, that's bad. Don't do that if you're building a new multi-rotor. Do this. Get an all-in-one. Get a Combini.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So just that, and I completely agree. The evolution of the machines is completely evolving. Just seeing where the technology has gone. I mean, this is a year difference between these two machines in terms of the technology that's on board. It's absolutely insane as to how far it's come. I jumped on the racecraft bandwagon. Sorry if anyone doesn't like racecraft for any reason. You should love them. They're amazing.
I don't know why people care so much about what other people are flying, but it's funny because Chad and Steele take heat because they think that they're fanboys of KISS and Alien. But here's the thing: I've taken my Alien and KISS setup, there is not one person I put it in the hands of that they've flown it that they were not severely. I'm not talking, yeah, it's nice. No, people are like, oh my gosh, it's changed my life. Like TJ, you know T-Bone?
Oh yeah, TJ, we know him.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
already had him
He was
on.
a guest.
I remember
Yeah,
we were over at the park, and I said, okay, I want you to try this. And he's like, yeah, sure. And I could tell he was like, I'll appease you, Chad. You know, and he do that thing, and I wish I was rolling a camera, because he lifted his goggles and he just was like, it was like I gave him his first dose of cocaine or something. And there was not one person that I've put that aircraft in, and that was stock. It was like a stock PID setup, and it just flies so well, so smooth. And
Yeah.
you know, so we're not crazy. Like, it's nobody's paying anybody to say this. It's just it does fly that well.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the same goes for this bad boy too, because I've heard very similar reviews for, you know, any of the excellent frames that are out there. I have to admit that to a certain extent, it also, you know, flight controllers are getting better. KISS has definitely got their foot in the right direction with what they're doing, but a lot of the F3 boards now, a lot of the all-in-one packages, Furious FPV is putting out some really phenomenal product right now. I think a lot of what you said before is also true. A lot of these manufacturers either are pilots themselves and are producing this technology, or they are listening directly to what pilots want. Lumineer, for example, just put out an antenna that's even smaller than the TBS. And everyone's freaking out because, oh my God, it saves so many grams. What's a gram or two going to make a difference of? If the pilot likes it and it flies really well, by all means, more power to them.
Yeah. The best advantage I see is that one right there that you're holding gets caught constantly. It just, the edge of it will clip something, and then it causes the quad to spin or rips the antenna out.
I love this antenna too, so I don't want to speak badly about it, because I've never, you know, it's funny. I'm running this with a Spironet on the other end, and I've had no issues.
Oh yeah, no, they're great antennas. I actually have the same one on mine.
But no, they're fantastic antennas. And you know, so moving into can expect next and what's 2017 going to look like for the hobby, I think, realistically speaking, I think we're going to see kind of the same or similar pace of development of the technologies specifically for the pilots. Like, there's a lot of all-in-one systems that are coming out right now, which are here. I think they're great concepts, but practicality-wise, if you blow one thing, system is dead.
Right.
I think you're going to see this progression of all-in-one packages, but then you're going to see them bounce back into smaller versions of their broken out form, because as much as I love the all-in-ones, it's annoying, because if you break one thing, you're done. It changes everything.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that's just my opinion.
No, I agree.
So
it's going to be really fun.
Chad, I want to ask you, other than what's going on with Rotor Riot and all that, you got anything else in the works? Anything you're looking at, maybe dipping into?
Oh, always. You know, I'm still in exploratory phase. You know, I want to get more deeply involved in where this industry is going. You know, I've got some consulting deals that I'm looking into doing. I just need to be careful of not getting into anything that's going to make me biased or, you know, challenge the integrity of what we're doing.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, as long as, you know, so the way I look at it is, you know, we want to help the hobby and the culture and the sport grow. So anything that's helping that grow in a good way is good. But yeah, so I'm just enjoying what we're doing, and kind of it's a lot of work finding our position here. Like I said, I build businesses backwards, and this one, the model plane and the hobby has existed for a long time. So creating flight tests and starting with the community and working from there is one thing, but with Rotor Riot, the community's so fresh and still evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where Rotor Riot started, was that's where Rotor Riot started, with the community, and it's still evolving, so so Rotor Riot is actually changing as the community changes. So we're still trying to find our footing, where is what's a more permanent position in the industry for us, and what does that look like? So that's what 2017 is going to be, is hopefully solidifying that.
Cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've got a quick question directed at me. For some reason, people are asking me questions. I'm not the guest. What controller and transmitter? Okay, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this and a lot of flack. I'm already going to get flack for the fact that I'm still running a Naze, but I'm going to get even more flack for this. I'm running a Naze with PPM right now, with a Tyrannus. So I'm running because that's the old one, D4R2 with PPM in a Naze.
Well, there's nothing wrong with the Tyrannus. I mean,
there's nothing wrong with the Tyrannus, but everyone's going to be like, and you deal with that latency how?
Yeah.
I've never flown a F3 until I get the X-Hover finished.
I mean, I hear this all the time, but I don't think I would be able to tell the difference, honestly.
And
I
honestly, I can't
get over it.
I can't. And honestly, on the Sybil, I can't tell. I mean, first of all, I haven't got once the X-Hover is done, and I've got S-Bus with the F3 running Betaflight 301, then I'll be able to verbatim say, because at that point, the on stock PIDs, control software. So at that point, it's only the setup of the machine and the way that it is that will be the differentiating factor on the way it flies. So on that, I can give an opinion. But until then, I love flying.
Hey, Mike, I want to come back to your question, because there is something I'm actually very passionate about, and I'm still trying to figure out how to approach it.
Okay.
And what that is I feel very blessed myself that I've been able to find something that I really enjoy doing and I get fulfilled through, and it was able to outgrow my other company and enjoy doing it more. I mean, to me, that just, and then Josh got to do that as well. He got to, now he runs flight tests, so it's really amazing. So I want other people to be able to experience that in some sense. So I haven't figured it out yet, but I would like Rotor Riot to be a conduit for people to pursue their passion, because so many people want to work in the drone space. And so what happens is we actually have a lot of people, manufacturers, and just I don't know, all kinds of businesses will approach us and say, hey, do you have, we want to start a drone program. Do you have somebody that could, come in and teach, or, whatever it might be? And I see you, Patrick. And, so I would like to somehow figure a way to, I guess, create a system or formalize that a little bit, and, make it kind of a matchmaking system. So I don't know if it's something in addition that Rotor Riot supports, or what that is, but I'm trying to figure that out, because that's something that there's nothing better than seeing somebody get into a position that they fit, and that's amazing. And every time I'm able to make a recommendation, somebody gets a job, it's just, I don't know, it's one of the greatest things.
Well, that's pretty awesome. And on that same line, while we're talking about it, I did notice that you guys are looking for a graphic designer right now, and I wanted to plug that for you, or have you plug it.
Thank you. Yeah, and what it is, and I tried to write it in a way that was as accurate as possible. It's not that we're necessarily looking to hire a full-time graphic designer. It's just we always have graphic design needs. So I would like to, and then on top of that, there's different designers for different things like t-shirts or packaging. They're not all, you don't just have one designer that does everything perfectly. So I wanted to expand our portfolio and resume of people that we could pull from and hire at different times. But then also we have companies that come to us for stuff like that, because like say somebody's doing an info sheet on a product and it's a drone. Obviously, if somebody flies and understands the mechanics and how a drone is, they're going to be much more suited to develop the graphics for that. So that's kind of a step in that direction. So what I want to do is kind of build this portfolio of talent, and then when people come to me, I already have it, and I can start making matches. So that's the idea for that. So yes, that's already a step in that direction.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll make sure we put the link out on our show notes when we release the show, so you can get as many of those types of people. And I tell you, somebody I was thinking of right off the top of my head was Steven Rosema.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's with some stuff too. So
yeah, he did all the stuff.
Yeah,
for, the flight test, the Gotha gaggle, all the plane skins for that.
He is also now partnered with one of the. Did you see the release of the simulator for the DR1?
Oh, for the
yes,
yeah,
Yes.
So all of those graphics were produced by Steven, and
I did not know that.
Richard is now partnered with Steven for all the graphics for the simulators now as well. So they are working together to get so all of those amazing things that you're seeing now from Christian over at Flight Test, they're being inspired by Steven and Richard. So
well, I had no idea.
Everything is coming full circle.
That's great.
Yep. So that's really exciting to watch that whole evolution happen as well. So good, really fantastic job to both of you guys, because you do outstanding work, and I love you guys to death because we chat. In fact, I'm actually chatting to Richard right now because both of us are building off of the Combini, and we're cross-checking notes with each other. Fun. In fact, Chad, that's a great thing, because I know you'll probably take some suggestions from us. A great suggestion would be to do something with a Combini flight controller, and do something around the all-in-one style packages, because they're the in thing right now, and it'd just be interesting to get those guys' take on something like that.
Yeah, I'll have to. We've been separated here for about 3 weeks now, so this is the time to kind of separate, hit reset, and then we come back together. Actually, like I said, Tommy and Steele are getting together with Kevin actually as we speak. So I'm kind of excited to see what they're putting together. I know Kevin's doing the Power Loop tutorial, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that too.
Yep.
So
I gotta learn me some Power Loops.
We're always listening.
That's great. That's really great. No, we can definitely see it.
Yeah. Well, we probably ought to start wrapping up, because I'm sure you would like to enjoy your vacation instead of talking to us the whole time. So.
Oh, this is more fun. No, real quick, guys. I want to hear from each of you what you'd like to see, aside from product, but just like the direction of Rotor Riot. What are your hopes for 2017?
Joel, you go first.
Why you put me on the spot? Dang it. Because because it's funny because I listened to Kevin and Steve their reaction to you asking them this question, so I kind of been mentally a little bit. Looking at where Rosa Wright started, because it's just you guys are a year already, right?
In January it'll be a year. Yeah,
it's crazy to think it's going to be a year already for Rosa Wright. I can't even think for a second. Sorry, reset the brain. Looking at where you've come, looking at how you've produced, how you've taken the concept of Rotor Riot and moved forward, I think done is you've honed in on the bit that everybody really loves, and that's the experience. And maybe one of the elements that you guys bring out in 2017 is you would go about doing this. There are things out there now like multi-GP, of course, but you've also got things like Drone Squad. And Drone Squad, if you guys aren't familiar, is a great free app that's downloadable on the App Store of both Google and iTunes. And it basically is a way that people can meet up in the area if they are part of Drone Squad. So a notification goes out, say, hey, you got someone in your area who's out flying, you should go join them. And it helps organize frequencies, and it's a very, very cool little app. I tried it out today. No one showed up, so it was fun. But maybe there's a way of the concept of, yes, you guys are thinking of a destination location. But again, working on that kind of idea of those grassroots, kind of maybe building it from the ground up. Maybe there's a way that Red Riot can help who aren't necessarily interested in the racing element of it. Mm-hmm. Like, for me, I'm not really competitive in nature, so racing to me isn't interesting. If I go to a race with that, it's not necessarily that I'm going to race and win. It's I want to fly with that guy. Mm-hmm. That guy. It's not necessarily about the race, but maybe there's a way that, because your guys are so into the proximity flying, into the location flying, maybe there's something that you can build off on that and say, hey, there are a couple of interested pilots who are looking to do a adventure to, for example, I'll give you a really good example. Abel and Sean here at the Orlando Rotor Races, they go out to Titusville and fly all the time on the beach in the intracoastal, mm-hmm. because it's just a fun place to fly. And it would be really cool if there was a way to say, hey, we're going out to go fly and have fun. And you guys are doing some amazing stuff with like the community content and sharing that out there. Maybe mm-hmm. there's a way of incorporating that element to the Rotor Riot a little bit more. If your core is going to be helping the pilots kind of get their personalities together and have adventures, mm-hmm. then maybe get more of the community out there with these adventures, let them go experience it, and then, hey, you produce this amazing piece of content. It goes up on the Rotor Riot community content side of the page, and everyone gets to enjoy in the experience of it.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I actually just coincidentally, Steele used Drone Squad for his Texas trip last week. Mm-hmm. So it was great. I think it worked well for a lot of people. And I think that's a bit of what you're talking about. We haven't cut it together or edited it yet, so I'm not sure, how it'll come out. But yeah, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, well, that's something I wanted to ask you about, Chad, was the whole Fly with Steel thing, how that was going, and because I signed up for it.
What was funny was I was in the airport when I was going to Utah. I was in Denver for a layover, and I'm sitting there, and I don't know, I'm texting or something, and this kid comes up and he goes, "Are you Chad?" I said, "No." Yeah. He's like, "I am Brandon." He was heading to Texas to visit a friend. Just heard that Steele was there and was looking forward to going down and meeting him. Uh-huh. And then he ran into me in the airport. So,
Oh, that's
That's cool.
great.
so I just
That's
thought
great.
it was just so funny. But yeah, I love that. In the Cleveland airport, I've had a guy stop me. I was in line at Starbucks, and he's like, "Are you Chad?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I watch the show all the time." And I'm like, "Which one?" But he's an airline pilot for like United.
Okay.
And, it's so weird. Like when I go to Flight Fest, I expect it, but when I'm out in public and people look at me, I'm just like, what?
Yeah, it is kind of weird because I was actually just in Florida, and Joel, I didn't tell you about this because this was Thursday. We were at Animal Kingdom, and I was walking, and I had my flight test hoodie on, and this guy came up and grabbed me, and he goes, "Do you know flight test?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's why I'm wearing the hoodie." And then he recognized my voice, and he was like, "Oh my God, you're Mike Finley off of the podcast." I mean, so weird, and this guy was from Mexico. And
wow.
Yeah, it was him
Wow.
and his wife, and I guess he had I don't know if it was a boy or a girl. We really didn't talk that, but just for like a minute and a half. But they had a little baby that probably wasn't 6 to 8 months old in a stroller, and he's pushing it. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I know who you are." And he goes, "I've been out of RC for a little while because I had the baby and all that." And I said, "We have to get back in and listen to our show and all that." And he goes, "Well, that's what I've been doing when I've not been flying because of the kid."
Wow.
So that was
amazing.
really cool. So
It is.
it's
Wild, man.
Yeah, it's
it
great
really is.
when that happens. But Pat, I think you were asking me about the meetup. So, Steele's doing it.
Yeah.
The one that we did in LA and put together, I think the feel of it was all wrong because there was a lot of people there, and there really wasn't a story. It was just like, we're here and here's a lot of people, and so it just felt like an event that the viewer didn't get to go to.
Right.
Where I think the format needs to be a little different, a little more intimate, where it's a few guys and they go out and they challenge each other and have fun, and there's a bit of a story there. So we're making some adjustments, trying a different format, trying to do it a little differently.
Well, I tell you that probably my favorite episode so far was the kid with Chad Nowak when they were flying the little air hogs thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I love that episode. It was so cool because this kid was so thrilled to be with Chad Nowak and to do all this. See, that's the kind of things I like seeing. Is
Right.
people that are whether they're 10 or whether they're 53 flying with people that they kind of idolize. You know what I mean? I mean, to me, that is so cool, and to see the excitement and the just the thrill of it all on their face really does a lot for me.
No, me too. I love that episode. It's funny. We have kind of a split crowd. We have the people that like more the mainstream kind of stuff and things that are more generally relatable. And then we have the hardcore guys that don't want kids and just want to fly, and and it's tough because we're straddling that line. We'll have one episode pleases one half, and then the other episode pleases the other half, and then the other half hates that episode. And then we have the episodes like Guns versus Drones, which everybody likes.
Yeah, that one was great too.
But they're very expensive to produce, and but we'll be doing more like that. It just we had to try. Like this year was a lot of experimenting, a lot of understanding where we fit, and just really seeing where racing was going because we didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah.
But 2017, I think, is going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pat, you got something else?
Without a doubt.
Me?
Yeah.
I feel like I do have another question, but I can't think of it right now.
What about your thing? What about your ideas for Chad?
Oh, Yeah, I like the idea of going out, and like you were saying, and that's kind of why I asked about the whole, because I think that really is a cool idea where you can go out and meet somebody, go to their area, fly with them, and it's a thrill for them, and it's a neat thing to be able to see, watch that on video and how that unfolds. In terms of ideas or things that I would look for from Rotor Riot for 2017 or the future, I really don't know, other than to say that well, you just mentioned the racing thing, and the racing thing really is still unfolding, and it's a little rough in the way that it's happening. And maybe there's an episode or two to be done within that, the growing pains of developing these racing leagues.
Yeah, actually, what about maybe a little bit of a docu-piece where we go and talk to the different leagues and, talk to them about their view of how it's going.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah, and then maybe get some perspectives of the racers who would be competing them versus, or along with what the developers of these leagues are saying or thinking.
Yeah, I like that. I personally would like to do some kind of more exploratory documentary pieces. Like, I really want to do something on George with Teal Drones. He started the company when he was 17. He's now 19, and he's got a drone coming out that is phenomenal. And I just think it's a super interesting story. And, I'd love to put pieces like that together.
Yeah, that was again tealdrones.com, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just shoot me, add it to the document, and I'll add it to the run when we put the show out.
Nice. All right. I will
putting it on there.
I can't add it. You have to.
Yeah, I got it.
We got it.
Yeah. I just put tealdrones.com because looking at that site, that was I'm going to have to go back and really look at that and take a good hard look at it.
Yeah, and there's some videos on there so you can see George and how passionate he is about what he's doing.
Yeah.
For a 19-year-old to be doing this and have developed it to the point it is now is just amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
that's pretty amazing. So, well, I'm going to say, Chad, thanks so much for coming on. I mean,
well, thank you guys for having me.
It's always great to talk to you. I love talking to you anytime I get a chance to, because you're always so interesting and you always got stuff going on. So it's always cool to talk to you. And,
well, thanks. Anytime, just let me know, and I'll this is important to me. So thanks, guys.
Well, it's important to us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And I know that all our listeners, love to hear from you because they don't get to see you on flight tests that much anymore, and some of those guys just don't come over. So,
And as my wife
other side often.
My wife puts it, Chad, it's all your fault that I'm back in the hobby. So, thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me the power to get back into the remote control hobby, but also the amazing ability to meet people and impact the hobby in the way that we now all do. What flight test started, I don't think any of us would be in this seat right now, and none of us would be talking to you about it. So genuinely,
not at all.
I think I expressed the same thing when I met you at Flight Fest. Like, genuinely, thank you for everything that you've been able to provide all of us, because it's amazing what every part of the hobby, whether it be Flight Test or Rotor Riot, has produced. It's amazing the connections that everyone has made.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you guys, because honestly, this kind of stuff, what you're doing, that's the greatest piece of it. And anytime you can ignite something and the fire spreads, in a good way, that's magic to me. So I thank you guys for making something happen.
Yeah, we had this conversation a while back, didn't we, Chad? About just how much I appreciated the fact that without you and you know, you and Josh and everybody else, that I would have never known Joel. I wouldn't have known Pat. I wouldn't have known any of these people. And these people have become not only my friends, but they've truly become my family.
Oh
And,
yeah, likewise.
yeah. And I just, you know, I'm still very humbled by it.
Well, thank you guys.
So,
Well, on that note,
Yeah.
I think Mike, you wrapped it up better than I could.
Yeah, I can't follow that.
well, and I mean,
Go
it's,
for it.
it's true, man. It's just, you know, it's one of those things that, you know, I wrote that article a while back and all that. And I remember you called me after that and said, look, I've never had anybody bring a tear to my eye on something that I wrote, you know, something that I read that someone else wrote about what I've done. And I will never forget that as long as I live, because I think that's the best writing I've ever done in my life. But
I thought everything you wrote was like that, Mike.
well, I don't write that much. That's why.
You got to write a book there, buddy. Hey,
Well,
you do
you
enough
know.
air travel, you could probably get away with writing a couple of pages a day.
Yeah, I probably could. But anyway, no, it's just great. And you know, I mean, these guys are my brothers, and so is all the rest of them. I mean, Eddie, Ben, I'm not even going to mention them all, but I mean, I love these people. And I know every time I get out to the Flight Fest, it is truly a family reunion, and that's all it is. So, and we just happen to fly while we're there once in a while.
Once in a while.
Yeah, well, not very often. But again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing, you know, part of your vacation with us. And Joel, Pat, again, I appreciate what you guys do. Thanks so much. And
Always.
to all our listeners
I'm
out
gonna-
there, thanks.
And I'm going to miss you guys while I'm going to be gone. But
Yeah, we're gonna miss you too, Joel.
you know,
But we'll do our best to find someone.
you carry
that
on the
may replace
torch.
you.
You can go help him move.
well, exactly.
No, let's not get carried away there.
Yeah, easy now.
Wow. Yeah, your next task is to find someone who can fill my seat for 2-3 weeks or so.
Yeah.
So, but
Have David
Get it
anyway.
done.
Oh, that's a good idea. Steal David. Hey, we've already stolen Nick once.
Yeah. Let's see if we can do that.
You probably
Yeah,
could.
do it. For sure.
Wait, what
For
time
sure.
would it be? It'd be like 8.
8,
Like,
9,
Matt,
10,
at 2 in the
11,
morning.
12, 1, 2, 3. It would be 3 o'clock that time.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't work out too well. Yeah,
He'd kill
that's
us.
too bad.
Do you want to close it out, Mike?
Well, thanks again for listening, everyone. Chad, thanks for being on here. Everyone, Joel, Pat, always appreciate you guys, and everybody, Blue Skies, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks for listening.
All right, bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Take care, Chad. Thank you.
See you.